Welcome back. The president of Colombia, Juan Manuel Santos, in New York today, ringing the opening bell here at the New York Stock Exchange just 10 days after locking up a trade deal with the United States. President Santos is expecting economic growth of about 5% in the country and is efforting to increase oil exports. Here now, my exclusive interview with the president of Colombia.
Well, for Colombia, the most important market in the world is now open for our products in a permanent way. We used to have some trade preferences that were renewed, but now it's an open market, and it also gives investors clear rules of the game to invest more in Colombia, and of course the Colombians to invest more in the U.S.
So right off the bat, the fees are eliminated, and I know the rest of the fees will happen over a several-year period. Is that right?
Right. And we hope that the free trade agreement will create in Colombia at least 500,000 jobs in the next 5 years. Trade between the two countries should increase more or less 25%.
I know foreign direct investment has been increasing in your country. You've got investors watching. Make the sale to them. Why would they want to put money in Colombia right now? We
are putting in place some structural long-term reforms which will guarantee investors stable rules of the game, an economy that is growing. We grew last year 5.9, almost 6%. We have identified our sources of growth, and what we need, the challenge, is to sustain this good performance for many, many years to come.
What are you seeing in terms of sentiment, demand on the part of the people? I know that the economy grew almost 6% last year. What's behind that? And tell me about demand right now in terms of a consumption story.
We have identified some sources of growth that we are promoting. Housing, for example, the agribusiness, mining, and the energy sector. We are very rich in energy. Innovation is another tremendous source of growth. In terms of demand, the Colombian demand is very high. The consumer confidence is in good shape. Of course, this is a challenge that we have on a daily basis to maintain this demand. To avoid bubbles. Those bubbles are in the long term counterproductive, and we also put in place some very strict laws in order to force the government to be responsible on the fiscal side. We want investors and the country to have a clear path and avoid what is happening in Europe or what is happening even here in the U.S., in Japan, and so many countries. We want to avoid that. So we are putting ourselves in sort of a framework, legal framework, that will prohibit us of being irresponsible in the fiscal side. What
kind of an impact have you seen in Colombia as a result of the European debt crisis?
Fortunately, Colombia has not been touched significantly by the world crisis or by the European crisis. I hope that they put their house in order, because in the long run it will affect us. Their monetary policies have appreciated our currencies. That affects our competitiveness. In that respect, we have been negatively affected. But again, we have put in place some policies to counteract that. But yes, we have been affected by the appreciation of our currency.
Are you still worried about inflation? What's your expectation for inflation rest of the year into next year?
We have a system, a framework which has been very effective. An independent central bank that has a very prudent monetary policy. This, for us, is extremely important. Our inflation has been the lowest in many years.
You recently had an agreement with the Chinese. What are your expectations in terms of creating this partnership for energy with China?
Well, not only with China, with
the world.
With the world. We're producing almost 1 million barrels a day. We, of course, want to increase it. We have put in place some very clear rules to attract investors who come in a big way. We hope that they will find more oil. People say that they're certain that there's a lot more oil in Colombia. And not only oil, we want to become an energy exporting country. We have a lot of coal. We have a lot of hydraulic power, because we are one of the richest countries in the world in terms of water, our rivers. We want to take advantage of that.
You know, it's interesting because you've got a great consumption story, a great demand story, a great story in terms of oil and other commodities, and yet security is still a concern out there. Tell us what you're doing in terms of ensuring that security is there for foreigners coming into the country, for the domestic story. How big of a challenge has this been?
We come from a very difficult situation. We were on the magazine covers because of our security problems. This is history in the sense of we have a different country, and that's why investors are coming, because they see that our security situation has improved tremendously. So we are aware we have suffered very much the problems of insecurity, and that's why we will continue to maintain a very effective and clear policy on security for foreign investors to feel more and more comfortable with Colombia.
We all read recently the headlines of the U.S. Secret Service issues when they were in Colombia. Did that whole story create any distraction for you in terms of your meetings with President Obama, in terms of, you know?
No. The meetings with President Obama went very well. What happened in Cartagena with the security service of President Obama, well, it's not our problem. It's the problem of the security service of Obama, but that in no way tainted the good results of the summit and, of course, the good results of the U.S.-Colombia relations.
And our thanks to President Santos there.